This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 170, The Ugly Truth Behind DIY Content Marketing. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you attract and retain business through the power of quality content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is April 14th, 2016. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Just a reminder, this podcast is available on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud, so if you like what you hear, please feel free to click on over and subscribe so you can get every single episode delivered directly to your happy little ears. I also want to invite you to subscribe to our weekly tip emails. Every single Friday morning, we send out a very quick content marketing tip, and also contains links to our weekly video and the weekly blog post, as well as the podcast. So it's like a little Friday morning happy meal for you. To subscribe, just go to resonancetips.com. That's TIPS. Okay, last week we tackled a question that I receive quite often, and that is, what are best practices in content marketing for software as a service brands, also known as SaaS brands? If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud or via the RSS feed. Today we turn our attention to a dirty little secret, yes, an ugly truth, around do-it-yourself content marketing. Stay tuned to find out what that is. And first, it's time to check in with our Newsfeed for this week's rundown of news you can use. We have got back-to-back stories out of Facebook for this week's episode of the Newsfeed. First of all, Facebook is rolling out some new features for Facebook Live video. And if you've been paying attention to what's going on Facebook, Facebook Live, the live video streaming feature has just taken off like wildfire. It's just amazingly popular. So this week, Facebook rolled out the ability to go live or to broadcast live video in Facebook groups and Facebook events. So live in groups allows you to broadcast just to the people in your Facebook group, so you don't have to broadcast to everybody if you want to limit it to that group, which is great for if you have a group of subscribers to a certain aspect of your content marketing, that's a great place to have live video that goes out to them. And you can also do live videos from events. So you can, if you have an event on Facebook, you can broadcast live to everyone who has RSVP'd to that event. And that's a great way to, I don't know, if you're doing like a conference or a big event, you can show people behind the scenes footage, things like that. There are a lot of things that you can do. Facebook has added several more features, including live reactions. So if you've used Periscope before, you've got the little heart icon just to say, yep, thumbs up, like what's going on. Facebook will have that. You can display comments on replays, and they also have live filters, which actually lets you add an Instagram-like filter to the to your visuals. Pretty cool. So there's a lot more going on, and I will post the link to the Facebook blog announcement, and that will give you plenty more information. And I'll include the link to the blog post for this episode. In a totally separate announcement, Facebook told us about some new metrics for live video. We can now see two new metrics. We can see live broadcast audience, which is the total number of unique people who watched the video while it was live. And then we can also see viewers during live broadcast. Now that is going to be a visual representation of the number of viewers during each moment of the live broadcast. So you can actually see how that audience changes as people come on and drop off as the video progressed. And these are now available through Page Insights and also through your video library. So lots of cool stuff going on with Facebook Live video. Okay, our content hit of the week is a post called 4 Social Media Tactics That Are Going Away Like the Landline. This is by Ross Simmons over at the Convince and Convert blog. That would be, of course, Jay Baer's blog. And I love how he compares this to the landline. I remember the days, where there were no cell phones, but that's another story. But remember when everybody used to have a landline in your house? You would have a telephone that was connected to your home. A lot of people don't have them, including myself. We bought our house and said, well, we don't really need a landline. We've got our cell phones. Anyway, Ross points out that a lot of social media tactics are kind of going that way. They're becoming dinosaured, if you will. And, we're all creatures of habits. We learn a particular best practice. A guru tells us you got to do this way, and then we make it part of a regular routine, and it just becomes habit, quite literally. But of course, social media is not static. Social media is changing all the time. And yes, something that was wildly effective just a couple of years ago may make you look like a real dinosaur today. So in this post, Ross highlights 4 such outdated practices that you might want to excise from your social media bag of tricks. It is a very fine post, and I will share the link to it in the blog post for this episode. Okay, that's it for this week's newsfeed. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please tweet it to me at resonance, C-O-N-T, resonance content with the E-N-T lopped off, so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment, the ugly truth behind do-it-yourself content marketing. When it comes to content marketing, I will be one of the first to say that outsourcing isn't for everybody. And yes, I say that as the owner of a content marketing agency. We make our living with companies who are looking for opportunities to outsource the day-to-day work of their content marketing. But I will say it's not for everybody. In fact, if your company has the resources, the expertise, you have the bandwidth, you should be doing your content marketing in-house. If you can do it consistently, do it well, absolutely. That's kind of a best-case scenario. But and we work with companies who are not quite there. But today I have to share with you an ugly truth. Yes, there is a dirty little secret that has skewed the judgment of many a savvy marketer who, marketing executives specifically, who opt for do-it-yourself content marketing. And that secret is this: it's not free. It's not free. Doing content marketing in-house is not free. Now, to a lot of you, this is going to sound like, well, duh, because if you process it logically, it makes perfect sense, right? Content marketing is done by people on your team. Those people are being paid salaries plus benefits plus, space in the office and computers and all that stuff. And yes, the hours they spend on content marketing multiplied by whatever their total compensation comes out to be by the hour, that would equal the cost of content marketing, right? So riddle me this, dear listener. Why do I keep hearing the words, well, we'd like to outsource, but we're just going to save the money and do it ourselves? I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that from marketing teams to whom I've presented outsourcing packages. Now, it's not the do it ourselves that bugs me. As I said, if you have the ability to tackle content marketing with your internal team and to do it consistently and to do it well, more power to you. I absolutely applaud that. It's the we're going to save money part. It's the we don't want to pay for this, so we're going to do it ourselves, because it just isn't true. And the attitude behind that is that, well, if we do it ourselves, it's free. And it, of course, is not. Okay, yes, you won't be writing a check every month that goes towards specifically your content marketing. But, again, that doesn't mean it's free. And this week, I found out that idea is even less true than I thought it was. This week I came across a study conducted by Serious Decisions titled B2B Content Creation Costs and Outputs. And what Serious Decisions did is they set out to look at the actual cost differences between doing content marketing in-house and outsourcing it. They looked at the differences between internal and external. And just to give you a couple of points about their methodology, I won't go into great detail, but they surveyed 291 respondents from across a wide range of industries and representing companies with revenue ranges from under 50 million to over 3 billion. So a good cross section of good-sized companies. And now, what they did, they looked specifically at content creation. They didn't get into the whole analytics and that other side. They looked specifically at content creation in companies where, where it was done internally versus externally. The result, get this, across all three size categories, and that would be emerging growth, mid-size, and enterprise organizations, average internal costs for B2B content creation are significantly higher than external cost. So it's not only not free to do this stuff internally, it's actually dollar for dollar works out to be more expensive than outsourcing. And they go into several reasons for that. For example, when content is created internally, it tends to involve product managers who command relatively high salaries and tend to spend quite a bit of their time creating content. And there are several other variables that factor in, but I think you get the gist that of what was behind the numbers that they came up with, that that internally is actually internal content creation is actually more expensive. So what's my point here? And who am I talking to? That's the big thing that I ask myself. I know a lot of you are marketing managers and directors of marketing who are getting tons of resistance from your CMOs, or you might be a CMO who's getting resistance from your CEO over the cost of bringing in outside resources to help with content marketing. And they're hearing things like, we can't spend that kind of money, let's just do it ourselves. Again, getting back to that mentality of if we do it ourselves, it's free. But what studies like these are showing us that is when we, quote, do it ourselves, you are spending that kind of money, and you might even be spending more of that kind of money. So, if you're a marketing director or a marketing manager or a CMO who is sick to death of going round and round and round about the cost of external resources, I highly recommend that you download this white paper and take it into your next meeting. And I will actually provide a link to it in the blog post for this episode. It's a free report. You can download it and get the PDF, and you will have it for your reference. So that is my quick and dirty take on the ugly truth behind DIY content marketing. Spoiler, it's not free. So if you have any questions or you have anything to add to this conversation, please feel free to shoot me a tweet at ResonanceCont, or you can always email me, Rachel at ResonanceContent.com. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. When I talk with companies about outsourcing their content marketing, I find there's a popular perspective that working with outside resources is an all or nothing type of decision. Either you completely outsource everything or you do absolutely everything yourself. And today I want to stress to you that it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. In fact, most of our client relationships are kind of in that gray area. And if you're doing some things that are going really well and they're going smoothly and you're producing content consistently and getting good results, but if you have gaps in other areas, you can always bring in an outside resource to fill those gaps. For example, we have several clients who are doing great with their daily social media. They're posting, they are they're posting in line with their strategy. They're speaking to the needs of their target audience. They're getting great engagement, but they struggle with creating blog content consistently. So they bring us in to create their blog content. Or you may be doing fine with your blog and with your social media, but you struggle keeping up with those emails that need to go out every week. You could bring in an agency to help there. And sometimes I find that marketing managers, they know they need the help. And they know they can't do everything they need to do internally, but they hesitate to contact an agency because they think that, they're going to try to sell me on a big, huge package of services, and it's going to be all or nothing. When in reality, any agency worth its salt, and I include, of course, Resonance in that group, will listen to your needs and will offer a solution that delivers everything you do need and nothing you don't. Okay, campers, that is it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. If you like what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please do leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. Also, remember to sign up for our Tip of the Week emails at resonancetips.com. As I mentioned last week, I have started taking a poetry class to get my creative juices flowing anew, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So today I want to leave you with a quote from one of my favorite poets, William Blake. He once wrote, quote, "Think in the morning, act in the noon, eat in the evening, sleep in the night." Unquote. Simple, right? Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Take care.